thank the Chairman, and I thank all three of you for your dedication for the men and women who serve in your departments and agencies. And Secretary Johnson, I want to thank you particularly for the good work the men and women are doing in Homeland Security. I can tell you since you've taken office, the production and the response to Congress in terms of responding to our letters and inquiries is the difference. I cannot tell you how much better it is, and I thank you and the people who work on those. I do appreciate it.
May not like the responses, but you're getting them faster.
Thank you. Yeah, true. Since you took office, Secretary Johnson, on December 23rd, or Secretary Johnson on December 23rd, are you aware of any apprehensions of suspected or known terrorists who were trying to come to our country illegally?
That's an important question. Attempting to come to this country?
Who came across our border illegally. Did you ever apprehend anybody who was a known terrorist, a suspected terrorist, somebody who had ties to a terrorist organization?
Sitting here right now, no specific case comes to mind. That doesn't mean there is none. Perhaps Director Comey can think of one. Sitting here right now, none comes to mind, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. Nor does that mean there's no investigation of one either.
My concern is that I have a reason to believe that on September 10th there were actually 4 individuals trying to cross through the Texas border who were apprehended at 2 different stations that do have ties to known terrorist organizations in the Middle East. Are you not aware of that?
I've heard reports to that effect. I don't know the accuracy of the reports or how much credence to give them, but I've heard reports to that effect.
And I guess that's my concern, is you as the Secretary, does that information rise to the level of the Secretary? Let me give you some metrics and some of the reason I'm concerned about what's going on in the southwest border. And this is an internal document of yours. While there were, as noted, nearly 466,000 apprehensions over the last 351 days, we also had 157,012 gotaways. We had 142,630 reported turnbacks. But one of the other metrics that's also fascinating to me is the sensors that are found there primarily throughout the Southwest. We had just under 5 million sensor hits in fiscal year 2013, but in fiscal year 2014, over the last 351 days, we've now had more than 6 million of those hits. Now, we got wild burros and tortoises and animals that there's a lot of false positives there. But the concern is, if you look at the apprehensions, we've apprehended people from 143 different countries. 143 countries. According to the internal statistics, 13 were from Syria, 6 were from Iraq, 4 were from Iran, and the list goes on to 143 different countries. The men and women that work on our southwest border, they do an amazing job. But to suggest that we have operational control of the border, help me understand this. You said there was a 70 to 90% success rate. Explain to me what that is.
When you look at what we believe to be total attempts to cross the border illegally, the estimated rate of those who make the attempt, of those who are apprehended, is somewhere between 70 and 90%, and it varies in time and it varies
Now, the GAO, previously the GAO had indicated that there was only a 6% operational control of the border. What percentage, what is the operational control of the border at this time?
I don't have that number offhand. I do agree with you that the challenge of those coming from countries other than Mexico, particularly into the Rio Grande Valley sector, is one I'm very concerned about. It's something that I've been concerned about since I took office in January. I've seen it myself at our detention center in Brownsville. When I visited there in January, there was something like 80 nationalities of illegal migrants present there.
I need to interrupt because I have just a little time. I got to switch real quick to a yes or no question. In 1983, President Reagan put in place a prohibition on Libyan nationals from seeking visas to come to the United States to be trained in aviation security or aviation and nuclear sciences. Myself, the Judiciary Chairman Bob Goodlatte, Congressman Trey Gowdy, and I introduced a piece of legislation that would keep that prohibition in place. There's been a process going through your offices and through the administration to actually reverse that prohibition that was put in place in 1983 that now sits on your desk. What is your view of lifting that prohibition?
I do not intend to lift that prohibition at this time. I don't believe legislation to prevent me from lifting it is necessary. I think given the current environment, I do not intend to lift it at this time.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yield back.